Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Monday's Thought for the Day. I'm sitting in the dark here because I'm recording this on a chilly Sunday evening. But good morning anyway. Well, the last two thoughts of the day have spoken about some very personal faith-related issues. I spoke last Monday about when we question how strong our faith is and when doubt creeps in. And last Thursday, Tom spoke very personally about how he had been feeling very low and how tears flowed when he began to sing a hymn. And the tears flowed when he recognized, he recognized where true hope can be found, and there was a healing in it for him. And what I found interesting was that thought for the day had more people watching it than usual, and several people commented on how much they appreciated it. And it got me thinking about how much people appreciate vulnerability and honesty, that honesty and vulnerability that Tom showed in that video. And I wondered whether it's because so many of us can relate to those feelings. The vulnerability and honesty, I think, should be a very important component of our Christian ministry, particularly those people in church leadership. People, we haven't got it made. I think it seems strange to say, but people need to know that people in church leadership haven't got it made. That each of us struggle in similar ways, that we're no different to anyone else in that respect. And in that struggle and in that honesty, connections can be made and hope can be found in the darkness that sometimes surrounds us. And it was once said to me by a very committed Christian, someone I really respected and learnt a lot from. But one day when I was feeling, a period of time when I was feeling very depressed, he told me that I shouldn't be depressed. He said, how can you be depressed? How can you be sad when you consider all the things that God's done for you? And that conversation just had the tendency to depress me even more. He went on to say to me that I could choose joy, that I have control over my emotions. But if you've ever been depressed, you know that that's not particularly true. And at that time, I had tried so hard to feel better, but I just kept failing. I just kept trying in my own strength to keep going, to put a smile on my face, to present to the world someone that was okay. And to choose joy to me at that point sounded too much like snap out of it. And one day, I believe God really intervened. And he stopped me trying to heal myself. And I can remember the moment to this day. My wife and I had been to a New Year's Eve party, and we'd stayed over at some friends. And during that time, I sort of became increasingly disorientated, and people were talking to me and I couldn't make sense of what they were talking about. And it just became very, very confusing and frightening. And when we were due to leave, normally I would drive home, but I asked my wife if she would drive because I felt so shaky, and as I say, disorientated. And as we drove away, the floodgates just opened and the tears just flowed and flowed and flowed to the point where I didn't think they would stop. But the relief was incredible. And I believe that at that time, God was helping me to surrender, to stop fighting, to stop thinking I've got to choose joy, to deal with it, to make those decisions, to control my emotions. And in that surrendering, firstly, I think there was an element of freedom. God was helping me to surrender, to stop fighting, to stop trying in my own strength, to recognize that at that point in time I had no strength, to recognize that the only strength I had at that moment, at that time, was God, and I had to place myself in His hands, and I surrendered, and that was the start of healing and of hope. And in a sense, that sort of mirrors Tom's experience that he spoke about, healing and hope. And in that, those times when we struggle, we might imagine God is impatient with us. Like that person who was telling me to choose joy. You can choose it. Come on. But God isn't impatient. He isn't tapping his foot and looking at his watch, impatient for us to get it together. He's not some sort of impatient foreman, watching us. And come on, get on with the task. He's infinite patience. He's infinite love, isn't he? He's not a bystander, but he's very much with us in our individual suffering. And I can testify that in my own life, time and time and time again. In Psalm 139 it says, "If I say, surely the darkness will hide me, and the light becomes night around me, even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night shines like the day, for darkness is as light to you." And earlier in that psalm it says, "If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me, your right hand will hold me fast." Those beautiful words, beautiful poetic words. God is always there, even in the darkness. And maybe today you're wondering if God is present in your pain. It may not be the pain of depression or anxiety. It could be loss. It could be failure. It could be illness. It could be injustice. Most of us, at some point in our lives, will come face to face with those issues and come to ask the question, God, are you here? Are you with me? Be honest with God. He won't condemn. He's not disappointed in you or impatient with you. And although he may not bring a sudden change of circumstance, he sits with you in your pain. He's with you. He isn't leaving. He isn't giving up on you. If the darkness feels like it will always be there forever, remember God will be there. He will sit in its midst, holding on to our hearts. We truly are never alone. And sometimes that's all we need to know to get us through. Amen. Well, I hope that is helpful to someone, and just look after yourselves. You take care, and I'll speak to you soon. God bless. Bye-bye.